Good morning and welcome to our training for the Eco Experience booth at the Minnesota State Fair. Today we're going to go over all of the things that you need to know as a volunteer at the Eco Experience display. And in addition, we will be following up with a recording that will go out to folks, as well as a training manual. So everything that we cover here today and all of the web links and things that we discuss will be in that manual that'll go out later this week. I wanted to give you a little general information about the fair. So this year it's running from August 24th to Monday, September 4th, which is Labor Day. The Eco Experience building is open every day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. except on Labor Day when it'll close early at 8 p.m. And our booth is a partnership within MnDOT between the Office of Transit and Active Transportation and the Office of Sustainability and Public Health, and a partnership with Metro Transit. This year we'll be continuing the theme from the last 2 years of From A to Green, highlighting different ways folks can use public transit, shared mobility, active transportation, different forms of getting around that will help reduce your carbon footprint. Some of the elements of note this year, we will have a new setup with a computer in one of the display cubes that will be showing MnDOT's new web transit trip planner. I'll go into a little more detail on that a little later in the presentation. We also are returning with our model bus, which is very popular, especially with the kids, which will have the fully functioning bike rack on the front, as well as a demo bike so people can practice putting a bike on the front bus rack. Several days we're going to have Greater Minnesota Public Transit Systems of the Day. So we've got volunteers from some of our Greater Minnesota Public Transit Systems that'll be supplementing the volunteers that are coming from MnDOT and Metro Transit, and they may be bringing some materials and promotional items for their agency when they're there that day. And then finally, we have bingo, which returned last year after a hiatus during the pandemic, which is by far our most popular part of the display. And I'll go into a little more detail on that later as well. Some things to know before you go. You will receive a complimentary ticket to the fair for each shift that you're signed up to work. So if you're signed up for one shift, you'll get one ticket. If you're two, you'll get 2 tickets for each shift. You can receive those by mail, or if you are a MnDOT employee with access to central office, you can also pick them up at the central office. I did send out a notice to everybody who is volunteering to let us know if you can by Wednesday, August 16th. If you are asking for us to mail it to you, there is an online form to fill out that it is in that email, and that will get us your mailing information so we can get this out to you before your shift starts. If you are a MnDOT employee with access to the central office, you can also contact me directly, and I will let you know where you can get those tickets at the office. If for some reason you don't receive your ticket or you lose it, let me know as soon as possible. We do have a pool of tickets. We can't guarantee replacement, but we'll do our best to get you a replacement if it's lost or you don't receive it. But do you know that if you don't get your complimentary ticket, then you would have to pay to enter the fair. So we want to try to avoid that. Adding your shift to the calendar. So for everybody except for the Greater Minnesota Systems of the Day, you should have signed up through signup.com, which is our scheduling software for the volunteer shifts. You will have gotten an email confirmation, and I recommend that you do the option to put your shift on your calendar. That'll actually block out your calendar and make sure that you don't have meetings scheduled otherwise. It will block out your actual shift, but no, you are also able to block out an hour on either side of that. So basically working a full day at the fair. We also ask for you to take a look at the volunteer guide that we'll be sending out that covers the information in this video in a little more detail, as well as the maps that are included with that. Melinda or I will send out any updates, anything that's maybe key things you need to know or changes that have happened since this training. So look in your email box from either one of us for any updates on the fair. As far as getting there, we recommend that you aim to be actually in the Eco Experience building about 15 minutes before your shift to get checked in. We'll talk about t-shirts here and those other things, but there are a few things that you'll need to kind of get squared away when you get there. It also gives you time to talk to, if you're getting there as an afternoon shift, there as kind of the handoff happens with the morning shift folks. And so that gives you plenty of time to handle all of that. We also recommend, because of the crowds, to give yourself, from getting to the fair about 20 minutes or so to get into the fair and across the fairgrounds. And if you are working an afternoon shift, which starts at 3 p.m., know that there is often a daily parade around 2 o'clock that goes by the Eco Experience building, so there may be some additional crowds. Recommendations on getting there. We highly recommend you look at taking public transit as a way to not only walk the walk, but also avoid a lot of the hassle of traffic and parking. Metro Transit has 2 lines that get you right to the fair, the Metro Transit A line and the number 3 bus. And both of those, if you're coming from the MnDOT office, you can pick those up at Rice or University. The number 3 bus is on Rice, and there's an A bus and a B bus. You can take either one of those. Both of those go to the fairgrounds. They're at the southwest corner. Or you can take the green line towards Minneapolis and get off at Snelling and transfer to the A line going north. Here's just an example of those 2 routes. I do recommend, if you are doing a morning shift and you're coming from the MnDOT office, I would recommend doing the green line and transferring to the A line. Technically on the trip planner, it'll show that being a little bit longer, but often, especially early in the fair, the first few days, Como can get kind of backed up and the traffic flow is a little bit better on Snelling. So your trip will be a little bit shorter even with the transfer. Should take you about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on traffic. And the cost is $2 each way or $2.50 during peak periods. And we recommend you check out the Metro Transit trip planner for real-time arrival information as you're doing your trip planning. Just to show you a little more detail where the bus stops are, the number 3, as I mentioned, stops on Como on the south end of the street. If you're coming from St. Paul, you'll be getting off right there in front around gate 9 or so, which is the loop gate. If you're coming from Minneapolis, you'll be across the street and there's a pedestrian bridge that'll help you get across without having to deal with traffic near gate 10. The A line goes up Snelling a little further and goes into the main gate at gate 5. And both of those, you just go north, work your way up there to the Eco Experience. Another option to look at is going by bike. Recommend you can use there's some different resources. Google Maps has some biking instructions. There's also a site, twincitiesbiking.org/maps. Or we also now have a statewide bike map with routes, and all those links are in the volunteer guide. There is a bike lot on the north side of the fairgrounds near Gate 3, which is the same as last year. But on the south side, they have moved the bike lot from, it used to be near Gate 6, is now near Gate 9, which is the loop gate there in the south. Or similar to last year, there is a lot over by the shuttle bus drop-off, which is going to be to the west near Gate 16. Just know on that, it works like a bike valet. So you drop off your bike, you get a ticket, and those are held in a secure location. If you do need to drive, there is free vendor parking on North Snelling. It's about 5 blocks north of the fairgrounds at 2700 North Snelling. It is a ramp, and they just ask that you park as close near the top as possible. There are 640 parking spaces that are available, first come, first serve. And they just ask that you avoid any spots that are marked visitor or reserved. It's either a healthy walk to the fairgrounds from there, or you can also take a park and ride bus, which runs, it'll be running pretty much anytime you're there, 4 a.m. to 2 a.m. So there's just a few hours of the day it's not running. And it runs about every 30 to 40 minutes. And that'll drop you off at the shuttle bus drop off near Gate 16, which you can either go in there or make your way to Gate 18, which is a straight shot into the eco experience. In previous years, we've mentioned on the first Sunday, a fun run happens that closes off that Gate 18. That fun run is not happening during the fair this year, so you can use that gate at any time. Within the Eco Experience building, our display is going to be in the northwest part of the building. It's in the same location as last year if you volunteered. The building opens up at 9 a.m. each morning. If you're arriving for a morning shift, which means hopefully you're getting there around 8:45 or so, there are garage doors in the rear, so kind of the center on that north end of the building that you'll be able to enter in from. When you arrive, you'll want to go get your t-shirt if you've brought a bag or anything like that. There's some storage behind our large Minnesota transit map display. That's also where others displays will be. If you have a t-shirt from previous years, we are using the same t-shirt, so you're welcome to rewear that if it's clean. As I said, there are additional supplies behind the map. If you have any need for additional supplies, we should have chairs also available in the display area, anything like that. There's an information desk you can go to get help with that. We'll also have a clipboard with shift information, so a printout of all the folks that are working so you can see who else is supposed to be working during your shift, with contact information, as well as a printout of the volunteer guide. We can see here the layout, again, where we are here at the top. The information booth is going to be near the main entrance. Over on the east side of the building, there is some storage and a break area, as well as the restrooms. During your work, try to coordinate rest and lunch breaks with the other volunteers so that we always have somebody in the booth. If for some reason that's not possible, then we ask you, there should be a back in 15 minutes sign that you can put on one of the chairs, just to let folks know that nobody is there at that time. You are welcome to bring your own food and put that in the break room or behind our storage area behind the map. but you're also welcome to eat food from the fair as well. We'll also have things like hand sanitizers and wipes that are part of the supplies, and just know those are for volunteers and for the displays and not for the general public. At the end of your shift, if you're doing a morning shift and there's either no one scheduled for a late shift or that person hasn't arrived and you need to leave, please put out the back in 15 minutes sign before you leave. If you're working an afternoon evening shift, ask you just tidy up a little bit before you leave. And the computer we have will stay on the whole time, so do not turn off the computer. And you're welcome to take your t-shirt with you and enjoy the fair. Just a few pointers, and there's more of this in the volunteer guide, as well as some frequently asked questions, pointers on talking to the public. Just know you don't have to know the answer to everything. It's okay to say, I don't know. We have tried on all of the information that we have to include QR codes on display posters. So encourage folks, if you don't know the answer to someone's question, to go ahead and scan that code, and they can learn more information, maybe get their questions answered. And also know that visitors are welcome to interact with all the different parts of the display. So the bus and the bus bike rack are by far the most popular after bingo. So folks are welcome to climb around and enjoy that. And then just smile, have fun, and just keep in mind this is our opportunity to interact with the public and do that in a positive way. Now I'm going to show a video on the bus bike rack. Talks a little bit about how that works, which has been put together by Metro Transit, and the display will allow a hands-on version of that people can try out.
Hi, on the Metro Transit encourages the use of bicycles as a great extension of a greener way to get around the Twin Cities. All Metro Transit buses have a bike rack on the front of the bus. There is no extra charge to use a rack. Each rack holds 2 bikes. Wait until the bus comes to a full stop and remove any loose items from your bike. Always approach the front of the bus from the curb, never from the street. Wheel your bike out from the curb and make eye contact with the driver. Pull the handle to release the rack for loading. Lift your bike into place in the rack slot closest to the bus. Pull the support arm out, then up over your front tire. Make sure the support arm is contacting the rubber tire as high on the wheel as possible. Exit through the front door and let your driver know you will be unloading your bike from the rack. Put the rack back into its original position if there is no other bike on it. Flashers and reflective gear are always a good idea for a bike rider and help Metro Transit drivers see you both when you're riding your bike and boarding or leaving the bus. Light rail trains have designated bike holders inside each train. Allow other passengers to get off the train first. Roll your bike on board and lift your bike onto the rack to secure it during your ride. North Star trains have designated areas on the lower level of each car to secure your bike. Always secure your bike properly to provide clear passage for other customers and a safe ride for others, you, and your bike.
Okay. Now we'll talk about the transit trip planner that MnDOT has recently released. This is part of a larger project that we're doing as a regional multimodal trip planner in southern and western Minnesota with the transit app as well. But we recently launched a web version of that trip planning platform. which will be on display. If you've ever used Google Maps or Apple Maps, this will be very familiar. But essentially, for someone to do a trip, they can either type in their location or they can drop a pin on the map. When they do that, a little window will come up that'll allow them to choose whether it's the start or the end of the trip, so from here or to here. Whichever they pick, when they drop the next pin, that will fill in the other side of that trip. There is an option there in addition where you can designate the time of day you want to leave. So the default is normally right now, but you have the option to pull down and pick a time in the future when you want to look for trips. It also allows you to pick your transit options. Do you want to just look at transit, just look at walking, transit plus bike, or bike only, and what kinds of transit or how far you're willing to walk. And then you'll see options come up that will give you recommendations on travel. And if there is more than one recommendation that the trip planner has, it'll give multiples. You'll see up to 3 options. One thing to keep in mind, and one thing that's unique about this trip planner, is option 3 there says must call ahead, and that's an indication of a flexible service like a dial-a-ride or paratransit service. One of the things that's different about this trip planner and our partnership with Transit App is that we have a dozen rural transit systems now that are part of this trip planner with dial-a-ride and route deviation services that aren't currently available on platforms like Google and Apple. So it really gives an opportunity for folks to be able to see all of their options around the state. At least in southern and western Minnesota. We do have information on the metro area as well. And so that, and we do also have information on intercity bus with Jefferson lines that's available. So that's something that's unique about this trip planner and the Transit App. If folks want to do something that's more app-based, the Transit App also allows you to see other shared mobility options and be able to actually purchase fare within the app. There will be a QR code in the displays next to the computer where folks can download that as well. And then finally, want to go over bingo. So this is, as I mentioned, by far the most popular part of our display because it's tied into all the other displays at the Eco Experience. Folks are given a bingo card that they can pick up from the information desk, and they're asked to visit each booth that's on their list and get a stamp. If they get that card filled out, they can come back to the information desk and get a gift. So we use this as an opportunity to help spread information about different modes of transportation. So folks will spin the wheel. You'll have a clipboard there that'll have the questions, and there's a question that lines up with the number on the board. Ask the question that they land on, and regardless whether they get it right or wrong, everybody gets a stamp. Just keep in mind, they'll give us some supplies with that, including a dauber to basically mark the bingo card. Just ask that you don't leave that out at the end of the shift. Go ahead and put that back in with the supplies behind the Greater Minnesota transit map so that it's available for the next shift. Finally, on troubleshooting, if you have to cancel your shift for some reason, if it is the day before or earlier, you can do that through signup.com. That will generate a message to me, and we'll be able to coordinate and make sure that the roster gets updated. If it's the day of, give Melinda a call, and that information, her number is also in the volunteer guide that we'll be sending out. If there's anything, again, with supplies, chairs, anything else, that you're needing on site. The information booth is going to be your first place to stop there. They should be able to help you with most things. And if you get lost or you have any other issues, Melinda will be your first call, and I'll be a secondary backup if Melinda's not available. And with that, we'll wrap up with questions. I just want to say thank you again from the State Fair work group for volunteering. As I mentioned, this is our best opportunity to be able to interact with the public and share the work that both Metro Transit and MnDOT are doing in this space. And we really can't do that without you. So we really appreciate all of your help. So with that, I will pop out of my presentation and see if we've got questions. It looks like Beth has a question about having the chain removed from the bike. I don't recall. I feel like it was removed, but maybe Melinda, if you've seen the bike in person more recently, you can let us know if there's still a chain on it.
Yes,
I've seen it
still
recently.
on.
Yeah,
We'll be able to take it off.
it's pretty
Okay, great.
stripped
Yeah,
down.
we had two little kids last year, sisters, and one of them stuck her finger in the crank and the other one turned the crank, and it was scary as all heck. Luckily, I don't think anything was broken, but yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder. We will take it off.
The other question was from a Greater Minnesota System. Is it okay to bring promotional materials? Yes, you are welcome to bring that. The only prohibition is stickers. The State Fair does not want anything with stickers because those end up all over the place. But general promotional materials you are welcome to bring to let people know about your system. And it looks like Christina has her hand up.
Hey, Elliot. I just had a question about if you're working a shift alone. You can just put up the sign if you need to leave. That's fine. But I did notice there were a few slots where other people are working alone. Is it fine to sign up for partial shifts? To support them. I'm going to a grandstand show one night where I could come early and be there for like the first 4 hours, but wouldn't be able to be there for the end.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you are available and even be able to sign up for a few hours where folks are signed up by themselves, most shifts are not that case. Most shifts we have at least two, and many we have three, but we do have a few where we only have one person signed up. So yeah, even if you can come and help relieve that person for a little bit of that, that is highly appreciated. But again, we're all there as volunteers. So, if you are there by yourself and you need a break, take the break. That's okay. If folks can help out, it's a chance. We'll get you another ticket. That's a chance for you maybe to have more time at the fair, or if you're going for a show like you mentioned, that'd be a great opportunity to help somebody out. So feel free to do that as well.
Do you still want us to sign up through the sign up form then, or just swing by? Okay.
Yeah, you should. If you are planning to be there, go ahead and sign up through signup.com. If you're doing that to support somebody who's working a full shift, I think there's a note section that you within signup.com where you can put a note, but you can also just drop me an email and let me know as well, and I'll make an alteration on the actual spreadsheet that'll be there, so folks know.
Okay, thank you.
And Andrea has a question about the Moss app. Elliot, I'm not sure if you captured that or answered that. Just want to make sure we don't lose that.
Let me see here. Okay, so the question is the transit app and the web browser, is that something that Google and Apple are already doing? So if somebody is wanting to look for their options in the Twin Cities, it doesn't matter. They can use Google, they could use Transit app, they can use the Metro Transit Trip Planner. Those are all places they can go in addition to what we'll be displaying. For Greater Minnesota, in southern and western Minnesota, as I mentioned, we have 12 agencies that are rural transit providers that are partnering with us. That do flexible services. So those are dial a ride, or if they have a fixed route, there's what we call route deviation, which means you can call ahead and they'll deviate off of the route to a certain extent to either pick you up or drop you off. Those traditionally are not available on Google and Apple and at the major platforms. So one of the big step forward that we've done with this project is being able to get those services available and searchable on a trip planner. Our hopes are to get Apple and Google in the future to be able to consume that information and show all those transit agencies. But as of today, you would only be able to see that information either on the Transit app or using our web trip planner. So that's the advantage. If somebody's in Greater Minnesota, we would highly recommend they use that, because they're really only going to see Rochester and Mankato essentially in this part of the state. All those other transit agencies won't show up if they're doing searches. The other advantage of the Transit app is it has in-app ticketing. So not every single agency does that, but for many of the agencies that we're partnering with, they not only can do a trip search, but they can actually purchase their fare and be able to show that fare to the driver when they get on. So those are the big advantages and how that's different than something like Google or Apple. How do I find the trip planner via web browser? So we have a link to the trip planner and to the Transit app in the volunteer guide. For folks that are trying it out at the fair, there's a display board that has a QR code for the Transit app and the trip planner website. It's really simple. It's mntransitplanner.com. Those things will be on the display board. So if folks are interested, they'll be able to get that information there. Any other questions? Okay, well, if not, we'll go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank again everybody for signing up and making the fair a success this year. I think sort of post-pandemic, we have gotten really good participation from everyone. So we really do appreciate that. That makes everybody's job easier. And look for in the next couple days both a recording of this session as well as the volunteer guide. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Melinda or me, and we'll be happy to help.